We've got another zombie film to look at here, and we'll get right on with it. It is The Living Dead in Manchester Morgue. This is from 1974, and it's a Spanish film but shot in England, as you might have gathered, with a title. Let's read the back quickly. Two travelling companions, George, played by Ray Lovelock, and Edna, played by Christine Galbo, come across a small rural town infested with an army of the living dead that are satisfying their cannibalistic hunger on anyone unfortunate enough to cross their path. Now George and Edna must fight their way for survival and their freedom as they're relentlessly pursued not only by the undead hordes but by a local detective played by Arthur Kennedy, who is convinced that they are to blame for the recent bloody carnage ripping through the community. This leads to a heart-stopping showdown at the Manchester Morgue and a conclusion that will leave you breathless. Also known as Let Sleeping Corpses Lie and Don't Open the Window, this is beautifully shot and terrifying shocker from the acclaimed director Jorge Gurua, Spanish. Is one of the original video nasties previously banned in the UK, now presented and restored uncut. Now I don't know if this is actually uncut, but all I know is that the Region 3 Blu-ray version, which I'll leave a link to, is apparently the superior version of the film with loads of extras. I thought this was cut, but then again it could be just the way it was originally edited, or because this was the 70s, not as though you didn't get any good films during the 70s or anything like that. But this film did come after Night of the Living Dead and before Dawn of the Dead. It's 1974. And this film kind of, to me, it had a bit of a campy feel to it. And it's shot like a Hammer horror as well. And in the height of the Hammer horror films, you know, they could imagine this type of film would be popular. And Manchester Morgue is a bit slow to get started off with, I must admit that. It isn't until really about halfway through, 45 minutes into it, that it actually starts picking up when they go into the graveyard. But the makeup effects on the zombies, are quite effective. They've got quite red, bloodshot eyes, and they're quite eerie looking. And the reason why the dead are coming to life is being blamed on like a radioactive machine, which is scanning for insects and earthworms, and which is found out in the countryside in a field. There's a bit of a twist to the end of this film, though I found it a bit obvious, but although there are some good lines in this, where the detective turns around and says along the lines of, "I wish the dead could come back to life, you bastard, because I'd kill you again," which he says to one of the characters in this. I won't ruin it though, but that line is quite a standout line in this film. And you could imagine somebody trying to remake this somehow in some capacity. But on its own, it's a standalone zombie film, which has actually been called the best zombie film ever. It's been, critics have actually said that, gone out the way to say that, unlike some of the posters for this film, some of the re-releases. It is a decent film. It's worth a look, especially if you like zombie films. Especially if you want one set in the 70s that came before Dawn of the Dead, like I said. And you know, it's interesting to see the foreign take on zombie films, because sometimes they're normally the best. You got the Italian zombie films. This was Spanish, but shot in England, dubbed. but you should try it. Living Dead in Manchester Morgue, also known as Let Sleeping Corpses Lie and Don't Open the Window. This was an original Grindhouse film, which was shown in the day at Grindhouse cinemas. We are going to eat you. Zombie Flesh Eaters, 1979, an Italian zombie film, which you might have gathered, from the Video Nasty era. And it came out a while back, not too long ago, from Arrow Video, which do great transfers and great special features, double discs of horror films and classic cult films, which you should check out. I managed to pick up Zombie Flesh Eaters. And what Zombie Flesh Eaters is about? Well, it starts off on an island, a remote island, and there's some voodoo going off, and from what seems to be dead bodies rising up, and they're being put down by being shot through the head. The only way to stop them. And it also takes place in New York, where a boat set adrift has a giant zombie on it, where it's attacking police officers trying to discover why the boat's adrift in the first place. And they get to encounter some zombie nastiness with some great gore effects. And the gore effects are good in this, and they're very, very gory, should I might add. Also in Zombie Flesh Eaters, the film takes place on an island, and before the island is reached, some discoverers take a trip on a boat, and whilst they're on the boat they go diving. And whilst diving, this is the film where they encounter a shark and a zombie. And the shark and the zombie have its own wrestling match under the water in the sea, where the zombie's arm is bitten off and the zombie attacks the shark whilst trying to get the naked female diver, who manages to get away. But it does take place generally on an island where they're trying to discover the mysteries of the island, and where, if I remember right, where somebody has vanished off to. Just read the back very quickly. From the sleazy Video Nasty vaults comes a movie so stained with controversy and moral indignation, I'm going to pronounce that, and the very mention of the name shed shudders down the spine of the weak stomach sensories. Zombie Flesh Eaters, a gut-munching, shark-wrestling, eye-gorging of topless skin divers, mud-caked, undead terror, and Italian splatter and dark imagination. Yes, this is Zombie Flesh Eaters. Yes, there is eye-gorging. A female woman, a woman who is showering, gets her head caught by a zombie. His hand grabs hold of her and starts pulling her head and eye towards a spike, which goes into her eye, and which was censored in many cuts. But as far as I know, this is the strong uncut version. But there have been many versions that have been claimed to be an uncut, and actually been cut themselves. But with our video, I'm expecting a lot more. An abandoned boat in the New York harbour unleashes a deadly flesh-crazed zombie cargo. A young American woman and journalist investigate a tropical island where a deadly disease is making the dead walk. Soon, thoughts of getting to the bottom of the murderous curse will be forgotten, as the walking corpses overrun the living, and reports that coming in from the Big Apple in New York is swarming with the living dead. After over 30 years, Zombie Flesh Eaters has the power to shock and offend the unwilling. Check out the classic sadistic video and reveal a wonderful tasteless movie which helps shudder and usher in moral panic. That should help sell the film for you. See the back there quickly. Hope you can see it in this glare. There's plenty of head explosions in this. There's plenty of gore. Plenty of blood. Plenty of great locations as well. And this film only runs at 88 minutes, but it doesn't seem like that most of the time. But you will have to check out Zombie Flesh Eaters, because it is one of the classic films that was spawned by George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, his sequel to Night of the Living Dead. And this was actually called Zombie 2, as in the sequel to Dawn of the Dead, as it was marketed. But that's not the case. But it is still a good standalone film, and any zombie fan should check this out and get hold of this by Arrow Videos, because this is worth picking up. And then anything else on their titles as well, their horror titles, you should also check out, because you can't go wrong with Arrow Video. And if you check on their website, the films are a bit more cheaper, and also on Amazon as usual. And you could be able to pick yourself up a bargain with some of the videos, the DVDs they've got there. And they're also on Blu-ray, which are worth checking out, and the picture quality is spot on as far as I know. It's a great film, Zombie Flesh Eaters. You got a Saturday night free, get a bunch of mates around and crack this open. You'll love Zombie Flesh Eaters. Zombie Flesh Eaters was also followed by a number of sequels as well. The titles got a bit confusing, but if you check on Wikipedia, I think there's about 4 sequels, but they're not necessarily called Zombie Flesh Eaters 2 or etc. Although there are a couple called that. It's so confusing. I think by the time you get to like 3 and 4 or 4 or 5 or what it is, they've got different titles like Killing Birds or something along the lines of that. But if you check on Wikipedia, an internet movie database, I think you'll be able to find the sequels on there, even though some of the sequels are quite rare on DVD. That's just a heads up anyway, if you want to enjoy the Zombie Flesh Eaters series. Okay, take care, bye for now. We're going to be taking a look at a B-movie zombie film from Italy from 1980, I think, or from the early 80s anyway, and it's called The Zombie Dead, aka Burial Ground, starring Peter Bark. A friend of mine, Miko Macabre, who was once on YouTube, has already reviewed this film, and she gave it quite a glowing review, and the Quentin Creeper kind of likes this film as well, because it's so... it's got zombies for a start, as you might have gathered. A professor on Earth, a seal, as in a stone seal, or he's exploring in some caves at the beginning, and he unleashes the undead, which are closing in now on the swingers party. Sounds like my kind of party. The survivors must try to survive and destroy the slow-moving dead, and boy, they are slow-moving in this one. They're so slow, maybe you could even outrun them. Maybe even a snail or a turtle could outrun them. But in B-movie fashion, our victims become food for the undead. As they start coming up through the gardens, coming out of the ground with maggots on their face, close-ups of them, as we start getting hold of our hapless heroes, our swingers. The Zombie Dead, like I said, it stars Peter Bark, who plays a young lad in this. He was apparently about 30 at the time of this film or something, and Peter Bark looks younger than what he really is, an Italian actor who's really been seen these days. There's been a few interviews on YouTube with him at conventions and stuff like that, and he talks very fond of this film. Then again, he gets to be around some really nice ladies in this film as well. I won't give too much away, but what I'm going to say about his Peter Bark is that he is a horny little thing, he is. Oh my god. The Crimson Creeper does recommend The Zombie Dead, aka Burial Ground. And speaking of Burial Ground, it's coming out soon from 88 Films on Blu-ray in March, so you can order it from Amazon. I think that's right, 88 Films, you know, who re-release stuff like Puppet Master and Zombie Holocaust. You're in for a classic here, kiddies. It's bloody, it's gory, there's loads of deaths. Even the zombies know how to use like tools and weapons and to get their victims and everything like that. It's got a very bleak ending, I must say that. And what's the point of this film? Well, it's just B-movie action. That's what it is. Slow-moving zombie B-movie action with blood and gore. And it should be in widescreen and everything, so you can see all the Italian glory, all the interiors, the designs of this great mansion place which our heroes and swingers are all hooked up in as they try to escape the living dead. What would the Crimson Creeper give this film? Well, it is, I would say it's everybody's cup of tea who like good quality films. But then again, this is B-movie quality. If you like B-movies, I'd give this a 7 or an 8, in my personal opinion, anything like that. If you don't come to expect the weirdness of this film and the obscure themes in this film, the craziness in this film, then maybe you might not get a kick out of it. But the Crimson Creeper definitely gets a kick out of it. But I also recommend this film to Safe and Secure 1, Anthony McVeigh from Mitsuko Studios, Sean Gormonger, who likes the Zombie Dead as far as I know, aka Burial Ground. This is the Beyond Terror label version from the Vipco vaults. But it's getting re-released, remastered, and it will have loads of special features on this. I do recommend you pick up The Zombie Dead, aka Burial Ground. That's all I can say on the film, apart from please check it out. See you soon, kiddies. I hope you've enjoyed this look at this cult B-movie from Italy. Get my words out right. Classic horror time now with George A. Romero's 1982 horror anthology film, Creepshow 1. So far there's been 3 Creepshow films, but the second one is only an official sequel because how much people complain about the third one. Screenplay was by Stephen King himself, and he also stars in one of the stories. It was produced by Richard P. Rubenstein, who worked with George on Dawn of the Dead and many other classic horror films of his. And it's a great film, so let's get on with it. Show the inside. Great artwork. Comic book like, with the Dawn of the Dead picture poster in the background and young kid there who is part of the wraparound story, like most anthologies. Right then, let's just get on with it. The first story is called Father's Day, and it's a zombie tale about a father coming back from the grave to take revenge on people trying to take advantage of his inheritance. The next story, The Loathsome Death of Geordie, stars Stephen King, as he finds a meteorite in the backwoods of his garden, and basically starts mutating into a plant himself. And Stephen King plays the role really well. He plays it backwards, not that he is a backwards person, but he's very convincing at doing it. Something to Tide You Over stars Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson, and that's another great zombie take on the stories as well, because it involves revenge, murder, and basically revenge as in coming back as the undead, trying to get Leslie Nielsen and make him pay for the murders of Ted Danson and his wife on the beach. That's a great one. The Crate, another great story, very gory this one. It's starting to get going by now, and The Crate is basically a monster called Fluffy, and it's taking its victims, eating them, biting, taking chunks out of people. Tom Savini was doing the special effects, and you'll find that The Crate is probably one of the goriest stories in all of this. And surprisingly, it's only 15. It's only 15. They're creeping up on you. The fifth and final story is about E.G. Marshall, and he's got a phobia of cockroaches, and he's kind of locked himself away in a futuristic type of home where he can't stand bugs or anything like that, and he's killing them left, right and centre. Without giving too much away, it comes back to bite him in the butt at the end of the day, as the cockroaches end up getting their revenge. Great film, Creepshow. 2-disc special edition. I'm not sure if it's on Blu-ray. I think it is on Blu-ray, but the double disc version has loads of commentary on it. The bonus features include George Romero and Tom Savini doing the commentary. Just Desserts, the making of Creepshow, feature-length retrospective with all new cast and crew interviews, deleted scenes, Tom Savini's behind-the-scenes footage, original theatrical trailer, and still galleries. Now, that's a lot. That is quite a bit to get through on that. Oh, just showing you the posters there. They've got The Shining, they've got Carrier, George Romero obviously paying homage to all kinds of classic horror and classic directors. Creepshow was followed by a sequel, Creepshow 2, which was, I think that one was directed by Tom Savini, or he at least starred in it as the Creep, and that was shorter with 3 stories and came out from New World Pictures. The third one went direct to DVD called Creepshow 3, and is a very independent, low budget attempt to cash in on the series. But also Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, has also been called Tales from the Crypt 3 as well, which came out in 1990, and that's an horror anthology based on the TV series Tales from the Dark Side, which was to do with George Romero and Richard Rubinstein. And you should also check that film out, Tales from the Dark Side, because that is a great horror anthology. Horror anthology films are also fun, especially the ones that came from the 80s and 90s and 70s. You know, you got Trilogy of Terror from the TV movie from the late 70s, early 80s. You've got the Creepshow films, Tales from the Dark Side. I'm trying to think of some more rolling off my head at the minute, but there's been quite a few of them over the years. They were very popular in the 80s and in the 90s, and yeah, you can see where they got their influence from this. They got it from the EC comics, much like Tales from the Crypt and stuff like that. And you know, it's full of zombies, gore, and you know, George A. Romero was a massive comic book fan, so you know, it doesn't surprise me that he went on to do a film like this. The special effects are great in this. Tom Savini, you can't go wrong, especially with his stuff in like Day of the Dead, and he worked and did some stunts on Dawn of the Dead. But he really shines through on Creepshow, and such a great film it is. 5 horror stories. They really do start getting going after the first and second act. It's about 2 hours long, which is long enough, and they used to always put this on at Halloween on Channel 4, and I used to find this quite a creepy film growing up, watching it as a teenager when they used to put it on at Halloween and stuff like that. And people will tell you all over the place that Creepshow is a classic, and they're telling you the truth in that way, because it has been often imitated over the years and in some form of capacity. It's got a great cast. Like I said, the special effects are great. Stephen King does a great job in this as an actor for the story anyway. E.G. Marshall was really good in this. Leslie Nielsen's really good. Leslie Nielsen isn't funny because afterwards he became to be known as a comedian. And you got Ted Danson in there as well as other quite well-known actors as well. Creepshow, what a classic film, what a great film. Should pick it up, see it, watch it for Halloween. It's a great film to watch at Halloween. And George A. Romero's Creepshow, 1982. I hope you enjoyed this review. Have a bloody good day. What a great film this is. Good night.
It's Father's Day. Where's my cake? You promised me my cake.
"20 years after Night of the Living Dead from 1968, in 1988, came Flesheater, aka Zombie Nosh, which came out on the Vipco label in the 90s, and it's an independent film by Bill Hinesman, or Hinsman, who played the original zombie, the first zombie you see in Night of the Living Dead. He also produced this, edited it, and did a lot to it. He's the main lead actor in this, well, main lead zombie in this, and it's an independent feature. It's very gory, and this came out from Stax Entertainment on DVD in about on Media Blasters in 2003, 2004. And I'd say it was worth getting hold of if you're a fan of the original Night of the Living Dead and everything, because for starters off, this DVD has loads of extra features. You've got like Back to the Woods featurette, including interviews with director and lead zombie Bill Hinsman and SFX artists on this. Footage of the photo shoot that recreates Flesheater zombie, Flesheater soundtrack, Flesheater trailer, Bill Hinesman pizza commercial, and a photo gallery. And I found this was mega cheap, and if you're into zombies, and if you don't mind an independent feature, which probably has its faults, as in like slow moving paces in places, and if you like good gore effects and its own cut, then you might actually like this. If you're not a Living Dead fan, I think you should check this out more than the 30th anniversary version. But this DVD is, like I said, its own cut compared to the Vipco version. It's an 18, so it's gory, it's region 2, and I think it did come out in region 1 as well. And basically what the story entails is basically Bill Hinesman, the zombie, is found in like a grave with like a stone with some writing on his casket. Is found in the woods near a farmhouse, and he's unleashed, and basically all it is a big massive zombie fest of like characters being killed off left, right and centre. And not only that, they're trying to survive, and they do figure out to shoot the zombies in the head and stuff like that. And it's set over Halloween, so you know, please don't believe people. The Lord doesn't really want to deal with it until they actually do, and then they start turning up in places and getting killed themselves. But Bill Hinesman, sorry, I keep saying Hinesman, is a very creepy zombie indeed. He's the lead one in this. I've got the DVD on now. Let me just show the back quickly. If you can see that. Show the front. Flesheater. It was also known as Zombie Nosh on the Vipco times. When I first saw this on video in the early 90s, with my zombie craze. He lived, he died, he's back and he's hungry. Basically sums it up. These special makeup effects were done by a guy who worked on Babylon 5 and Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead remake. Bill Heinzman, as you know from The Crazies and the original Night of the Living Dead. The actors are very independent on this, so they aren't major actors or anything like that. But like I said, it's got quite good zombie gore effects, and there's a scene where Bill Heinzman puts his hand into a woman's stomach, chest, and rips out like a heart or something like that and starts eating it in like a farmhouse. And these zombies are quite clever. They tend to like use weapons and kill people that way, and when they die they come back as zombies. And it also ends on another bleak note, you know, on true style of Night of the Living Dead. I say you should get this if you're a massive George Romero fan, and if you're a fan of the original Night of the Living Dead, because it's Bill Heinzman, the late Bill Heinzman at the end of the day, and God rest his soul. He'd always do conventions, and everyone used to go on about how much of a nice guy he was. I did a tribute to him on this channel as well somewhere, so you should check that out. But Bill Heinzman did seem a really cool guy at the end of the day, and a lot of people I spoke to, like Sam WPG on here from Canada, she'd met him a few times, I believe, and she always thought he was a nice guy and everything. And it's a good way to pay tribute to him. I mean, like I said, it is an independent film. There are slow scenes in this and everything like that, and there's like gratuitous boob scenes and stuff like that, nudity and everything like that, maybe for the sake of it and stuff like that. But not everybody sees that as a bad thing, do they? But it's really worth checking out. I really would. You know, some people might like laugh and groan at some of the bad acting or the overdubbing on this, but I really did like this film, and I really did enjoy it. And Mr. Safe and Secure 1, I think you should pick this one up if you haven't seen it already, and anybody else who's not familiar with like these subgenres of Night of the Living Dead spin-offs and everything, because this is probably one of the better classic ones. And this is, I think it was part of the Video Nasty area as well, but then again it was like coming up to the late 80s at the time, and stuff was cut out of this, but it's all been restored now. And like I said, the extra features on this, you know, you can't go too far wrong. And I think they're really, really good of them to put them on this. It only runs at 88 minutes, which is long enough. And it really does spin off really Night of the Living Dead, which of course is a classic, and you see me speak highly of that film on here. And that is Flesheater, starring Bill Heinzman, from 1988, aka Zombie Nosh. Good night, everybody. Have a good day. Night of the Living Dead 1990 came out as a result of the copyright issue with the original Night of the Living Dead, in trying to get the rights back after the copyright was ripped off of the original 1968 classic. It turns out that George Romero actually produced this one, and he got his longtime friend Tom Savini, who does the makeup and special effects on Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, as well as other of his films, to direct this one instead. and he didn't want anybody else to do it, but Tom Savini ended up getting behind the camera and ended up directing his first directorial feature, which is Night of the Living Dead 1990, a remake of the original film. The DVD itself, before I get into detail about the film, comes with a director's commentary by Tom Savini, filmographies, a making of featurette called The Dead Walk, and a theatrical trailer, and it's from Columbia TriStar. It's not a bad film. The only fallback I find to this film is some of the acting isn't as up to par with some of the main cast, and the main cast in this are like Tony Todd, who played Ben, Patricia Tallman, who plays Barbara in a new revised 90s version of her, and it's a refreshing change. You've got other characters in there like Bill Moseley plays the ill-fated Johnny at the beginning, and you've got Tom Towles, who plays Henry Cooper, who you might remember from Henry of a Portrait of a Serial Killer, sorry. And inside you get quite a detailed 2-page booklet of the film, telling you about a little bit about the film. Chapter selections as usual. Night of the Living Dead 1990. It pretty much follows the same premise of the original film, and starts off in the graveyard and goes from there. Barbara, as I said, she ends up becoming a stronger character in this, and instead of she starts off as a bit of a nerd, and ends up becoming more of a kick-ass action hero, like a bit like Sigourney Weaver from Aliens, who influenced Tom Savini, as he says on the making of on this, and says that he prefers a character like that for her to play in a film like this, where she's not just cowering in the corner. She actually becomes a person who actually ends up picking up the guns and actually killing zombies and everything. The special makeup effects are really good in this, and from what I understand, a lot was cut out of this, sadly, because of censorship. And Tom Savini actually went on to say that he's glad that actually some of the gore was cut out, and he says that less is more. His friends and associates actually did the special effects on this and gore effects on this. And on the documentary on this, it actually does show some deleted scenes with raw video camera footage of actually alternative shots of zombies being killed and having their heads blown off and having them shot at and having squib effects and having the blood a bit more obvious compared to how the actual finished film actually came out. I can't remember exactly how this did at the box office or anything like that, but I think it had some critical praise. But then again, the only drawback was like remaking a classic is always going to invite criticism from everyone. But the film itself is about an hour and a half. It has something to say at the end of it when Barbara becomes like basically one of the only survivors in this, compared to like some of the other ill-fated characters in this. It plays up most of the original scenes, like the little girl being bit already in the cellar, the gas pump scene, the graveyard scene at the beginning, Barbara obviously going into the farmhouse and being rescued by Ben, played by the great Tony Todd, who you know from Candyman, and there's been loads of horror since. But it is a fun film. It is worth checking out, and if you're a horror fan, you can't go too far wrong with this. The trailer didn't do this film that much justice when I watched it. It kind of made me laugh a little bit, to be honest. But John Russo produces this, as I said, Tom Savini directs it. George Romero ends up producing this. He actually did the screenplay to this as well. And obviously it was based on his characters. Tom Savini directs it. The commentary at the end was quite interesting because, like, as the rednecks come in to save the day, basically, you've got like Barbara saying like, they're us, we're them, as in towards the zombies, and that's when the social commentary part comes in again with this film, and kind of takes everything a bit more seriously, as George Romero tends to sympathise with the zombies rather than more the humans and everything. But George A. Romero had an influence on this, and it's just a shame about some of the shoddy acting in it, because other than that, it would have been actually a better film if it weren't for some of the shoddy acting. And but you can't blame it too much, I guess. But I definitely don't blame the main cast, because they do a really good job on this. And Patricia Tallman went on to do Babylon 5. She went on to be in Sam Raimi's Army of Darkness, as she played a possessed witch, and she's a highly respected actress. Patricia Tallman is in the horror community, especially for all the work that she's done and strong characters that she's played. She was also in Monkey Shines as well, another George Romero film, which I think Tom Savini worked on as well. So it's like family basically working with each other and everything. And Tony Todd, he makes a great lead actor in this, and some of his monologues in this are really good as well, a bit like Ben's in the original, played by Dwayne Jones. Night of the Living Dead, 1990, directed by Tom Savini, produced by George Romero. I hope I can show you the back off there quickly. Oh yeah, and there's another thing as well. There's a bit of a shoddy effect at the beginning as well, which I don't mean to laugh at too much. But it's when Johnny gets his head smashed in against the gravestone by the first zombie that you see in the film. And there's another thing. There's a few plot twists there and there, just so it doesn't make it too obvious that you know what's coming as well. Especially if you've watched the original Night of the Living Dead. But Night of the Living Dead 1990 is worth checking out. Get it on DVD. I'll see you soon. Here's a classic for you. 1985's Return of the Living Dead by Dan O'Bannon. 1985 film with zombies. I think this had something to do with John Russo, who helped write Night of the Living Dead, and went ahead and wrote a screenplay for what might have been a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, but went off into its own separate franchise. It's also from the producers of Aliens and Terminator, I think. Return of the Living Dead. Great film. Great zombie comedy horror. Has its merits, has its scary bits, has a kicking 80s punk soundtrack, and that's what stands out for this film. If you haven't seen it, basically there's two morgue workers who have in their possession a barrel which is from the military, and this barrel is accidentally opened, and the steam and mist it gives off the content of it, the chemicals in it, basically make the dead come back to life. And what perfect place to have that start than in a morgue. And that's basically what happens. The barrel's opened, The two people that opened it end up getting infected themselves, and their bodies start coming back to life in the morgue. Now, the first body that we see come to life in this is destroyed, and it's destroyed by being chopped up because there's no other way to get rid of it, and it's basically burnt into the atmosphere when it's cremated, hence causing a thunderstorm which rains on the graveyard where a bunch of punks are having a party. One of the punks here is Linnea Quigley with short red hair, and she likes to dance naked on tombstones. And basically that's where the chaos starts. Well, what's left over from there is basically cleaning up the mess, and there is a lot of mess to clean up because zombies are coming out of their graves and coming back to life. Their bodies coming back to life, and these zombies you can hardly put down with being shot in the head because they just keep coming and coming and coming. Some of the scariest zombies are like that actually, but this is a great comedy horror. This DVD version is really good as well. This was one of the latest versions, which includes the More Brains documentary on disc 2. Basically, according to the back here, nearly 5 hours of killer bonus features. And this is also on Blu-ray. The film used to be a 18 sorry, but is down to a 15 now. Maybe because relaxations in censorship laws, or maybe because there's so much out there that probably you know, is worthy of an 18, and how times have changed basically. Return of the Living Dead has a great cast. You might recognise one of the lead guys that went on to act in Friday the 13th Part 6, and I think he acted in one of the action kickboxer films or something like that. He went on to play the older Tommy in Friday the 13th anyway. And you got Linnea Quigley in this, who's a screen queen who was in Night of the Demons, but is much different in this. Still sexually charged, but she's got short red cropped hair, and I'll try not to give too much away, but she meets her fate in this and ends up going back to take revenge basically. There's the tar man who comes out of the barrel, the black tar man, who is a zombie with his rib cage exposed. He's quite bulky, he's quite big, he's quite scary. He goes around saying more brains basically, brains, and wants to get hold of the teenagers in the graveyard when they come in and find him in the basement. It's a classic. There are sequels to this. There's Night of the Living Dead Night of the Living Dead, I get more mixed up there. Return of the Living Dead Part 2, which brought some of the cast members back. Return of the Living Dead Part 3, which took a different direction, which was directed by Brian Usner from the Animator fame, because he produced that film. Then you had 2 direct to DVD sequels, Return of the Living Dead Part 4 and 5, Rave to the Grave, and some other one. But this is probably one of the best ones, and this is probably the most memorable one, as they always are, the first films. You can, like I said, you can pick this up on Blu-ray as well. The quality is supposed to be really good on it. 2 discs DVD, one with the main film and one with the extra features, as well as the long well, at least 2 hours I think, documentary called More Brains, which is finally come out over here, and that's worth getting hold of and worth a watch, especially if you're a fan of these films, and especially if you're a fan of the first Return of the Living Dead. Special effects are really good in this. I I don't know exactly who did them, but they are very convincing for a zombie film, because they use animatronics as well as puppets. We'll get a kick out of this. I think most horror fans have seen this film, and most of them will probably really recommend this one, because it is a classic. And I'm glad to get this review up with this, because I've skipped it over quite a few times, and I tried to keep with the better zombie films on this channel, rather than, even though most of them are pretty cliched, but I like to try and show off the ones that I've got in my collection that I find the best and more accessible films that you'll find. Anything else to add to this? Killer soundtrack, I mentioned that. Oh, the effects on this was actually done by Tony Gardner. He did the special makeup effects. William Stout was the production designer. He helped do the storyboards. Stacey Q is interviewed on this, who did the main song Tonight. She's a musician. It's got deleted documentary interviews. Location filming being revisited. Big interviews on this, loads of interviews. Dan O'Bannon unfortunately passed away, I think it was 2009, and to work with him, it was very good to work with him apparently, even though some of the younger cast had a problem with his ways, because he was probably more of an old school director, but he's a bit of a filmmaker legend in Hollywood himself. Check him up on Internet Movie Database if you haven't, and you'll see that he worked on quite a few classic films over the years. I think he worked on Alien, if I remember right. James Cameron's in this. Crew Gallagher, is that his name? He's in this. Great standout characters, especially the morgue workers, and the punk cast are really fun in this. And the bits where the zombies are sending in for more paramedics as well, which is a classic scene. You'll find that really interesting. The ending to this film is a bit of a downer ending, but stuff has to be done to try and stop the zombies at the end of the day. And will they get stopped? You'll have to find out in this film, if you haven't seen it already. Check out Return of the Living Dead, especially this new special edition of it. It's worth checking out, trust me, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching, have a bloody good day. happy Halloween, happy October and all that. Well, we've got a DVD review for you now, a zombie film, a sequel in fact, Return of the Living Dead Part 2. And this is the sequel to the highly successful Return of the Living Dead. This time around it's directed by Ken Wiederhorn, sorry. And I believe he worked on the first film, and this was a quick throw together sequel which came in 1986, 1987. Quickly redone. It reunites some of the old cast, like the guy who played Freddy and the old guy who basically killed himself in the first one by going into the cremator and committing suicide. Basically the zombies are back in this, and the effects in this aren't as up to par as the first one, and even on the documentary More Brains they even mentioned that they weren't happy with the special effects in this and how the direction this film went in. Even though it's still a fun film, it's an 80s film, it's got 80s cheesy music in it. Susan Snyder, she's a bit of a screen queen, and she stars in this. Dana Ashbrook, who was in Waxwork and was a bit of a heartthrob at the time, he stars in this, and basically it starts off all over again where the cans are reopened and the zombies are let loose in the graveyard by some kids this time, and another tar man comes out of one of the barrels, a bit different looking this time. It's not as scary in this one, I don't think. And two bully kids try to bully one kid who's always into reading comic books, and they try to bully him and they lock him in one of the crypts, and he manages to get free. And the two kids that did lock him in there are the ones that opened one of the army barrels in the first place, and when they did, they become exposed to the gas that comes out of the canister, and basically they end up becoming zombies themselves, or at least one of them does, I think. And that kind of sets us off for more zombie action in this. The more comedy zombies in this one, and a bit more MTV like in this one. It's interesting to note as well, the DVD changes the music to the original film. Even Cool Dude has said that himself, and that happens on this as well. The DVD extras on this one, you get a commentary by the director and co-star for Van Lingen. I'm not sure which character he plays in this, but you also get a trailer as well. At the movies, you can't keep the undead down. Brain-hungry zombies are resurrected with flair, style and humour in this sly sequel from director Ken Wiederhorn from Eyes of the Stranger and Freddy's Nightmares. A new generation of ghouls is spawned when a barrel of nerve gas falling off the army truck is cracked open by neighbourhood toughs. That's the kids. The escaping greenish vapour turns the living into zombies and the dead into the not so dead. Of course, it seeps into the local savagery with groundbreaking results. See a severed hand on a spree back in the seat of a crowded car. Gasp as the zombie torso and its missing legs happily seek each other along hospital corridor. Search no longer, fright fans. The Dead Fest is lively fun. Or this Dead Fest is lively fun. And it is a fun sequel. The characters are probably, they've got in the same veins as the original with the humour and stuff, and I think they tried to carry that through onto the sequel as well, and it is a lot of fun. You can enjoy it. It's probably not as good as the first one, but with older zombie films you'll find that a lot more fun, and you'll probably find that in this as well. And I hope you do find out in this one, because it is. I used to like this film. Watch, I used to be ill, and when he was off school, he used to always like put this on the video, and you used to watch it. It's got a really cool cover. You should check out the cover. Really cool, very good. Like I said, there's more zombies. There's even a Michael Jackson looking zombie in this. towards the end, and they have to try and find a way to destroy the undead. And basically they're luring the zombies with dead brains into like a power plant, where they're trying to dispose of them by trying to electrocute them. Maybe I'll give a little bit away there, but it is still a fun film. I reckon everybody's already seen this film anyway. And Return of the Living Dead Part 2 is the second in the in the series. There was a Part 3 as well as 2 director's DVD sequels. Do you like my cloak? I went to stick your blood. And as I said, it's fun. More genuine artistry than lots of prestige films is a hoot. It's fun. From the Los Angeles Times, that's what they say about it. It's a B movie basically. It's fun. It's brain eating zombies with fun makeup. That's what you're looking at here in Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Like I said, the features will keep you going. There aren't that many features. It's from Warner Brothers, and you've got a trailer, like I said, and you've got commentary basically there as well, so you can watch the film twice and have lots of fun with it. All I want to say, do is plug this film. Say thank you for all your support. And this is a 15. Originally it was an 18, but it's probably gotten tamer over the years. Thank you for all your support on YouTube. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the reviews and everything. Thank you for all the subscribers, and to have more stuff up very, very soon. So happy Halloween, everybody. Good night. Return of the Living Dead Part 3 is a sequel worth picking up. It's nothing like the second one, and it's nothing really like the first one either. But it's a Romeo and Juliet story of basically a dead girlfriend being brought back to life by a boyfriend in the lab, in a lab that contains the chemicals which brought the dead back to life in the first 2 films. And it stars Mindy Clark as the gorgeous Julie in this, who has a fetish for basically pain, and if you like that sort of thing, then you might like this. Basically, the DVD is getting quite expensive now, as far as I know. I remember picking this up from Woolworths at the time. There isn't really any extra features on this apart from a trailer and an interactive menu, but it's directed by Brian Usner who helped produce, reanimate and do films like, was it Society, or was that Stuart Gordon that did those? But Brian Usner is no stranger to gore either way, and you'll find that in this film. Basically, it's got a young couple, young rebellious couple, going out, driving on motorbikes, and the father of the boyfriend runs the military, is part of the military, and he's the one keeping close eye on all the chemicals and the barrels and the stuff inside them that actually brings the dead back to life, because they end up getting mixed up in all this when Julie dies. The boyfriend ends up bringing her back to life in one of the with one of the containers, and at the same time a load of zombies are let loose, and they have to contain them. But in the meantime, the boyfriend and Julie, the girlfriend, are on the run, and she's slowly becoming into a dead zombie walker herself. Now, with her love for the boyfriend, she actually holds herself back for a long time, hence she tries to make the pain go away by sticking nails into her flesh and glass into her and spears and all sorts. And as gangs come after them, she fights them all off and ends up killing them as well, and accidentally turning them into zombies as they get captured and taken to the facility at the end of the film, where they try to contain all the living dead, including Julie as well. Then from there on, the boyfriend isn't having any of this, wants to break her out and everything, and in doing so, the zombies take over the army facility again, and more chaos ensues. Ends up with a Romeo and Juliet kind of like tragic like ending, but I won't give away the ending or anything like that. But you'll find that this film is worth a watch. It is gory. It's an 18, and it's a lot better than the second film. And it's a lot better than the direct-to-DVD sequels that followed it as well. Return of the Living Dead Part 3 came out in 1993. It was around that time. It's from Trimark. Stars Mindy Clark, J. Trevor Edmund, Kevin McCord, and Basil Wallace as the Riverman, who tries to help the boyfriend and girlfriend get away from the gangs and tries to keep them out of trouble by taking them to his underground sewer-like lair, where they're being pursued by the bad guys, and that's where Julie ends up killing the bad guys that are going after him. Return of the Living Dead Part 3, I can highly recommend this film. It's a good sexy horror. Show you the back off there if you can see it. I hope it isn't too dark or anything like that. Hope you can see that. But there's definitely plenty of zombies in here to keep you going. Loads of practical effects, no CGI or anything like that, even though this was around about the time when CGI was taking off. And Return of the Living Dead Part 3. Starring Mindy Clark, back from the dead and hungry for more. Return of the Living Dead Part 3. Return of the... Oops. AMC's The Walking Dead is a popular TV series about zombies based on the comic book by Robert Kirkman. The series itself stars Andrew Lincoln, a British actor who was in Teachers and in the film Love Actually with Hugh Grant. Don't ask me why I know that. But anyway, The Walking Dead is a very popular TV series. This is season 1. I don't know if I'm going to review all the seasons, but just to give you an introduction to The Walking Dead TV series in general. The first season was produced, and well, it is more conceptualized by Frank Darabont, who you know from films like The Green Mile and The Shawshank Redemption, and he basically starts this whole series off. He left the season after season about halfway through season 2, and I don't think he's really looked back since, because he's moved on since then. But anyway, The Walking Dead is about zombies. It focuses on the main character, Rick Grimes, who wakes up in a hospital after being shot on the highway because he's a sheriff, and he's with his partner Shane, and he gets shot up by bad guys basically. And where he wakes up in the hospital, and during this time, this is where the zombie apocalypse takes place and is occurring. It's up to him now to get back to his wife Laurie and his son Carl, who are taking refuge in a camp, and he himself, throughout the first couple of episodes, has to try and find them. And in the meantime, he meets up with other characters as well. The other characters from the first season, the most memorable ones are, of course, you've got Rick Grimes, played by Andrew Lincoln. You've got Carl, his son. You got Laurie, his wife, who's having an affair with Shane, his partner, his sheriff partner, cop partner, or whatever. And they're all taking refuge in the camp. You've got Carol, who starts off as a bit of a weakling because of an abusive relationship she has with her husband. You've got Andrea, you've got Dale, of course you've got the most popular character in The Walking Dead. You've got Daryl, who carries a crossbow, his brother Merle, who ends up getting handcuffed to a roof, where I won't give anything away, where he ends up getting away in spectacular fashion, until we see him again later on in seasons. All other characters are mainly cannon fodder, and people do get killed off left, right and centre, which it keeps people hooked at the end of the day, and helps it get views, I think, when they do have character deaths and stuff like that. Andrea, she has a sister called Amy as well in this first season, and there are only 6 episodes in the first season, because of it being like a bit of a pilot series, with the first episode being a bit longer than the rest of them. It's easy to watch and it's easy to get through, but as the seasons go along, the episodes get more and more, you'll find. The DVD itself from season 1 is basically on 2 discs, and the featurettes on there include the making of The Walking Dead, Inside The Walking Dead episodes 1 to 6, sneak preview with Robert Kirkman, behind the scenes zombie makeup tips, and a conventional panel with the producers. And this is from the producers of Terminator and Aliens as well, I might just add. Walking Dead has been really popular, taken off, and it also includes the zombie effects by none other than Greg Nicotero, who plays a few zombies in this, as well as does the makeup effects and everything, to tons and tons of extras on this. But The Walking Dead, you must be living under a rock if you haven't heard of it. But to continue in the Dead videos that I've been doing recently, it seems quite fitting to try and fit this in somewhere. Season 1 is a good season, I thought. When I spoke to quite a few people, they said that the favourite seasons are the first 2 seasons. But as it goes along, it's hard to put the series down as you go along, because you just want to know what happens next, who's going to live, who's going to survive, and everything. And that's the appeal of The Walking Dead. And I don't think there's many people I don't know that don't watch The Walking Dead or anything like that, etc, etc. Mr. Safe and Secure 1, he's started to watch Walking Dead, and if you could pick up season 1, you might be happy picking that up somewhere down the line and just getting into it again if you haven't seen it already. But The Walking Dead features zombies basically. George Romero was approached at one point to actually be a part of this, but he turned it down. I've done that in another video. But The Walking Dead, starring Andrew Lincoln, good actor, and he shows his emotions as the series goes on. I want to check out Trev's channel too as well, just a shout out to him as well, because he's a massive Walking Dead fan. He's from Canada, and he covers Walking Dead videos all over the place. He does, and he gives his predictions of each episode and gives insights into characters and whatnot, because he's followed the comic book as well, and the comic book's been going since about 2006, 2007. I don't know actually how long it's been going for. It could have been going longer for all I know. But I've only got a couple of comic books myself. I'm not really a massive comic book fan, unless it really takes me interest, but I've got the odd comic book which my little brother picked me up once as well. But that's The Walking Dead season number 1. I forgot, there's Glenn as well. There's Glenn, the Korean guy as well, who used to be a pizza boy as well. He's a regular character on this as well. I'll just show the characters on the back really quickly. But that's season number 1, and as the seasons go on, the cast gets bigger and bigger, and the people get killed off left, right and centre as well. That is Walking Dead season number 1. Hope you've enjoyed this review. Hope you get to check it out if you haven't already. And that's The Walking Dead from AMC. Also on Fox UK. Good night. As a bonus, I want to show off season 2 as well. This was season 1. Season 2, which has got 13 episodes, I believe. And the extra features are chock-a-blocked on there. Really are. Season 2 carries on from season 1, and basically it follows the group as they escape from like a shelter, like a science shelter, leaving an odd character behind, but I won't say which one. And of course I forgot to mention that in the first season, Rick, the first person that Rick gets to meet is Morgan, who turns up in season 3 and possibly season 4, which is currently going off at the minute. But season 2 basically carries on the plot, and Frank Darabont left about halfway through the season, leaving it to other directors and producers to carry on the legacy of The Walking Dead on TV on AMC. It's a bit slow paced, season 2 is, but it's worth a watch anyway. Both of these seasons are worth a watch, and a lot of people say that these are their 2 favourite seasons, but if you're a Walking Dead fan, you'll religiously watch the show anyway. But I'm just showing it off right here, and you'll get to see the development in the season 2 between Rick and Shane just there, and the love triangle with Laurie, and the rest of the drama that unfolds on the farm, Herschel's farm, where they meet Herschel and his family, Maggie, Beth, etc. That's season number 2. Just showing it off briefly now. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Zombeavers. Zombeavers. This came out recently, around about September, October, straight to DVD in the UK. It's 15, and Beavers, you'll all be damned. Get ready, because this film has got loads of puns in there, beaver puns with the young girls and the young lads, the teenagers and such. And basically what it's about, the film starts off quite promising actually, in my opinion. And basically what happens is there's nuclear waste that's being dumped, and it's dumped onto like a dam, a river dam or something, hence turning the beavers into zombeavers. And that's what we get. And nearby we get some campers, some really fit, pretty young girls and everything, and basically they're meeting up with the guys and everything who sneak up on them, make them jump, and the typical teenage stuff really that you might find from like the American Pie franchise, because this is from the producers of American Pie, Cabin Fever and the original Ring. Personally I picked the Ring over this, but it has some potential in it to be a good film, but some of the effects on it are a bit shoddy in my opinion. It can be a fun film and stuff like that, and doesn't really take much to you to switch off your brain and possibly enjoy such a film. But Mr. Six Films really took the piss out of me for picking this film up in the first place. We'll just show off the back if I can. Just take the holographic cover off and try to show you off the back there. It's 15, so it'd be a PG-13 with the gore and everything. It does have some gory scenes in it, reasonably gory scenes, and it's just more sexual stuff, because like you've got like the teenagers going off with one another and having a good time. And basically Zombeavers, basically one comes in through the bathroom, and they try to scratch and bite our teenagers in this, the girls and the boys, and basically turn them into zombeavers themselves, and they actually grow teeth. Spoiler here, actually grow teeth themselves and adopt like a rodent, like if that's what they are, like a rodent like zombie phase, where they go after each other and try to kill each other and everything. And it starts off, like I said, it starts off quite promising actually, because you're thinking, oh, this is going to be a fun film and stuff like that, but it does fall into your typical kind of low budget B movie kind of cliches as it is. I mean, I did enjoy parts of this film. I would pick this up if it was a bit cheaper on DVD. It's a bit expensive at the minute, about 10 quid or something like that, but wait till it comes down in price, so a couple of quid from Amazon, then I'd pick it up or something like that. But it's not worth going out your way for or anything like that. But it can be a bit fun in places, and you get a thrill out of this if you like pretty young girls and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong in that whatsoever. The lads are a bit douchey in this, and they're a bit stupid really, and cliched, to be honest. But there's a bit that stuck out at me which I thought was really, really cheesy, and that's the bit when they're on this raft and one of the guys gets his foot bitten off and he picks it up out of the water, and it doesn't look convincing. And there's a part in this where I'm only going to give away a few spoilers on this. They've got like a little dog in this, and to get away they have to sacrifice something, and the ending did make me chuckle and everything like that, but I won't go into too much detail about that. The end theme Zombeavers as well was pretty funny as well. This DVD doesn't really come with any extra features or anything like that. It's in your typical widescreen stuff. Like I said, it sadly doesn't come with any features on it. It's letterboxed and everything. It's from Universal, so I was probably expecting a bit more, to be honest, or maybe I was expecting too much. But Zombeavers is basically late night mate viewing, you know, get your mates around and view it and everything. But Zombeavers it does have a sense of humour, and I don't think it takes itself too seriously or anything like that. And if you stay through to the credits, they've got like the outtakes and everything, but they haven't really got any special features or anything like that, like I said. But this is what we're getting out of Zombeavers anyway. I just wanted to take a quick look at Zombeavers and just show it off to you, and that's just my opinion on it. Some people might like this sense of humour and everything, but personally, it was an average film. I'd probably give it about 4 or 5 out of 10 or something like that. Personally, pushing it at about a 5 or 6 or something. Yeah, Zombeavers. You'll be damned. You'll all be damned. Oh yeah, there's loads of beaver jokes in there as well, especially if I've mentioned earlier. I mentioned it in my pickups, including the young girls and everything. But Zombeavers, what you see is what you get, basically. Take care, guys. See you soon. We're going to be taking a look at a film now called Wasteland, which is an independent film. It was shot in Derby, which is near Nottingham in the UK, and it's from Light Films. It was directed by Tom Wadlow, who's done a number of short films before, and he trained in Universal Studios in America. And he started up Light Films and works with his wife Chrissa, and basically they got this film together, which was basically shot on peanuts. It's a zombie film, and basically it's called Wasteland. Here's mine signed here by Tom. Well, Wasteland, we'll get right on to it then. Wasteland basically centres around the character Scott here, played by Sham, who's an actor himself who you might not know him that well, but he's done bit parts before, and he's been in EastEnders and everything. And basically it's him, and it centres around him and his love story between Beth, played by Jessica Messenger, an independent film actress who's familiar with horror, and they're out to try and basically find each other again. And this is obviously set in an apocalyptic time when zombies have taken over, and there's flashbacks to back to a party scene where the couple first meet each other and his friends and everything. And Scott's basically trying to comprehend or basically get his love interest back, which he eventually does. But at the same time, Beth, she's so worried. Last thing on her mind is getting married, because she wants to find her parents who are in London. It doesn't actually say where this is set or anything like that, but it could be set anywhere. But she wants to get back to London and try and find her parents and everything. So about halfway through this film, you've got Sham, who's already who's taking shelter in this house, this cottage house thing, this abandoned place anyway, like a shed or something. And he's got his robes on and everything, and eventually, after all the flashbacks, Beth herself, she's become a bit of an archer, and she's teaching Scott how to basically pull an arrow and use a bow and arrow to kill zombies and stuff, which of course zombies have to be killed in the head. And a lot of people say this is beautifully shot, and I can agree with that. Tom's done this really well, and I get to turn up in this. My zombie scenes with me and my friend Ian James were actually caught, but I turn up about 30 seconds in this in a flashback scene in the diner, playing away till you see the back of my head. I'm wearing black, so you can see me there about 30 minutes into this thing. It kept me interest going a lot, and a lot of people have been asking about these films, and the only way to get them is through Light Films on the Indiegogos, which they're doing at the minute for Ratcatcher. I'll try not to give too much away or anything like that, but there are flashbacks in this film and everything, and Beth does end up coming back when she goes to search for her parents in London and everything. And it was written by Tommy Draper, I think, who's if you look him up on YouTube or on Twitter or Facebook, he's got his own projects as well, and they're all Derby based. And I found out about this film through a friend, Rachel West. Thumbs up to you. And that's how I got involved in the first place. It was all free, not paid or anything like that, but it was just an experience just to be on basically my first zombie film. If you can see the back there, there's Beth, there's Sham, Scott as he's called right there, that's his name. See some zombie action here. I don't know if you can see that properly. Sorry about the glare, but there's some zombie action there. You get features on there as well, and the features are basically behind the scenes, and it goes on about, it's broken up into different sections. You've got like the visuals, which are really well done. They're all digital and everything, and it was quite clever how they broke down the shots and actually show you how it was all put together and everything, because there are some practical effects in there, but a lot of it is digital as well. I've got a shout out to also as well Sophie Black on this, Deborah Bennett, who did the makeup, Dave S. Walker, who's a Godzilla fan, who did the music, and director of photography Chris Newman. Sure, you love that shout out there, so there we go. Hope you appreciate that. Before I digress or anything like that, you've got about 6 minutes worth of deleted scenes, which one of them includes a church scene. You've got official trailers, there's 2 trailers, and you've got the Harlem Shake video, which they used to promote the Indiegogo and everything, which stars Jessica Messenger again and a load of zombies. So shout out to Guntus, who played a zombie. Shout out to Ian James Matthews, who played a zombie. Dean Sills, who plays a zombie. And there were a few people that played zombies in there. Sorry I can't shout you all out or anything like that, but I'm trying to keep this wrapped up the best I can. The film also stars Mark Drake and Rachel Benson, who are 2 actors. Mark Drake has also been in Game of Thrones, so he's used to getting bloody and everything. So Mark Drake and Rachel Benson actually turn up later on in this. But I won't give too much away or anything like that. But people play zombies in this, came out to play zombies in this for nothing really, and so did I. So there were some good afternoon shooting, and it was a lot of fun. And also the next feature is Ratcatcher. So I really do hope you've looked at Wasteland, and I hope you can try and pick up a copy of this if you're into independent film, or at least if you support independent film or anything like that, and are interested in getting to the independent film business itself, especially through Light Films. So this is kind of a plug to them as well. And yeah, so shout out to Crystal again, Tom Wadlow, the director, Mike Rhodes, you know you are, Chris Newman, Sophie Black and Deborah, who did makeup, and of course there's Jonathan Millard as well. I think I'm pronouncing your name right there as well, who's doing the Outline project as well. But this is Wasteland. You should check it out, try and get a copy of it if you can, just to support the independent films, or if you know anybody who's in this film so you can support them as well. But that is Wasteland from Light Films, available through the Indiegogo, so check it out. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the zombie look at Wasteland. And of course we have The Walking Dead, which is a popular series at the minute, so if you're into that sort of stuff then you can kind of relate to some of the bits in this, but of course it's only a 90-minute film, but just enjoy it for what it is. Wasteland by Tom Wadlow and from Light Films. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Goodbye. Hello. Now, Shaw's next film, a lot of you zombie fans have seen this one, and horror fans, and we'll get right down to it. This 2004's Dawn of the Dead by Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's quite big in Hollywood, quite popular, and this 2004 film, which came out the same year as Shaun of the Dead, was a very popular one and did quite well at the box office and helped bring back the zombie genre into the mainstream, basically. Of course, this is a reimagining of the original Dawn of the Dead by George Romero. This 2004 version basically follows the same plot line as the zombie where it goes into more detail, showing a bit more carnage with the zombie outbreak and the virus or whatever it is that's causing the dead to rise and people to go insane. The zombies are quite scary in this. Again, they have to be shot through the head to be killed. And this film stars Sarah Polley, Vin Rhames. The other guys in this are, don't know by name, Jake Weber. Yeah, and it's got a boasting soundtrack as well, which in the introduction in the credits we've got Johnny Cash playing as well as you've got Disturbed Down with the Sickness, as well as a lounge version of that song as well, which is quite cool, quite popular, and has picked up a following over the years. There isn't too much to say about this really, apart from it starts off with a hospital and a neighbourhood, and it's starting to slowly get taken over, and the only survivor basically who gets out alive is Sarah Polley, and there's a little zombie girl which bites, a little blonde zombie girl which bites her husband and basically turns him into a zombie as well. Again, I was trying not to give too much away with this, but then that leads on to chaos where she ends up escaping in the car and meets up with other survivors, and they start heading to the shopping mall then, where they're meted by other survivors and these security guards who are hiding out watching all the zombie apocalypse go off. There's conflict between them, but eventually when they do kind of put the differences to a side, they start enjoying themselves in the shopping mall and taking it over. Another character in this is a guy named Andy who's got long hair, and he owns a gun shop across from the shopping mall, because between the shopping mall and this gun shop it's surrounded by zombies, and Vin Rhames makes up a friendship with him by communicating to him, by holding up signs, writing on signs, and communicating that way, and they become the best of friends. Vin Rhames is a great character actor. He's been in so much. He's been in Piranha. He was the one that was in the Day of the Dead remake, I believe, and he's been in so much as well. This film is just under 2 hours long, so there is quite a bit to get through in this. There's also subplots where the other survivors come crashing through in a van, a massive van, where they've got other survivors on board, and they manage to get into the shopping mall, and it basically creates more character deaths down the line. There's a woman, I think she's Russian, like a Russian woman or something. She's pregnant, and her boyfriend is trying to keep her alive for the sake of the baby. She already gets bit, but I won't ruin that scene for you. But she ends up going into labour, and she has to be tied to a bed because she's basically turning into a zombie and ready to kill someone basically. There's loads of special features on this version. There's director's cut from, I think it's from Universal and Entertainment in Video. Special features you get on here is basically introduction by Zack Snyder. It says the director's cut as well. Feature length commentary, lost tapes with Andy's terrifying last stage reveal, which is pretty cool. Special report, we interrupt this programme. Deleted scenes with commentary, Raising the Dead, Attack of the Living, Splitting Headaches, Attorney of Exploding Heads, which is basically a behind the scenes of how they're using animatronics on for the zombies, and using practical effects in this, as well as some CGI and matte shots, etc, etc. There are cameos in this from Tom Savini, which is pretty respectful. He plays like a sheriff, but he's only on the TV, and I think he's on a few behind the scenes featurettes as well, if I remember correctly. Ken Foray turns up as a preacher. He was in the original Dawn of the Dead, who played Peter. He turns up as a preacher on the TV, saying when there's no more room in hell, basically, the dead will walk the earth. One thing that helps us, I guess, is the cast as well. Sarah Polley, a Canadian actress. She's gone on to do more independent stuff. I haven't followed her career or anything like that, but I know this is probably one of their major films that she's been in. Like I said, Zack Snyder, he's gone on to do... Didn't he go on to do Man of Steel, the Superman film, as well as other things? As mentioned before, the soundtrack is worth listening to, it's worth picking up as well. It's really an interesting score. The score and the actual soundtrack itself, especially with the rock and heavy metal thing, I think you'll probably like this. Standout tracks, like I said before, is probably Down with the Sickness, the lounge version, as well as the Johnny Cash song on this, When the Man Comes Around. The film ends, without giving too much away, with the characters actually getting away, but for me, I'd love to have seen, like people would love to have seen a sequel to see what happened next. Now, this is 2004 and this is like 9 years onwards, and I don't think, personally, they'll make a sequel to this. Even if they did, I reckon it'd be probably low budget and long forgotten about, because the length of time that's gone between this film. Yeah, this film did quite well in the day, if I remember right. I remember Channel 4 showed the first 10 minutes of this film, so it was like a big major event on TV. They showed the first 10 minutes of this film late one Saturday night, or along the lines of that, where they showed part of this movie basically as it was coming out in cinema. There is a lot of blood, there's a lot of gore, as you might imagine from a zombie film. I tried to show off the back there, there isn't too much, a lot to see there, just some screenshots. But it is a memorable film. A lot of people recommend this film, a lot of people have seen this film, and it still holds up quite well to this day. I mean, I enjoy it. I'm still a fan of the original Dawn of the Dead and George Romero's films, and George Romero gets credit in this, as in it's saying that the story was based upon him, which he should get credit for, because not long after this, a year after, he went on to do Land of the Dead in 2005. As I said before, the same year Shaun of the Dead came out, so it was quite a zombie year where films were getting noticed. Zombie films were getting noticed and taking off in Hollywood, or maybe it was the start of that old remake thing, to be honest. But it is a fun film. I spoke to people about it, said that they wanted to hate it but they still loved it, and because they were fans of the original Dawn of the Dead. And I don't think it's films like this you can pick up extra cheap on Amazon as well, plug in Amazon again. So yeah, make sure you get the director's cut, because there is a bit more nudity in this and a bit more blood. And I'm just trying to think now if there's anything else that stands out about this film, as in the characters or anything like that. They all come in all shapes and sizes, and there's all kinds of different zombies. They're kind of fast zombies in this, and there is a lot of blood, there's a lot of gore, a lot of head splitting, a lot of characters that take twists and turns throughout of it and end up starting off as arseholes, we end up becoming heroes. Yeah, that's Dawn of the Dead 2004 remake or reimagining. I hope you've enjoyed my reviews on these zombie films lately, because I've been on a roll trying to pick out the best ones and trying to get my views out there on basically these films. So that is 2004's Dawn of the Dead by Zack Snyder. Praise. Hope you can see that alright. Another zombie feature here, and it is the mini-series which came out in Halloween 2008 on E4, Dead Set. Now Dead Set is a 2.5 hour zombie slash satire slash horror, and this time a zombie apocalypse is set around the Big Brother house. Big Brother is a UK programme which is on every summer. It's also on around the world as well, so you might be familiar with this. It's Region 0, so if any Americans out there want to get hold of this, you can find it on Amazon. And let's get started with a look at Dead Set. Dead Set is takes place on eviction night, and I assume it's a Friday night, so that's when you have the evictions. And during this time, the zombie apocalypse is going off during this time, and only the beginning of it is starting to happen in England. And when one of the evictors is evicted, she is being interviewed by Davina McCall, who used to introduce the show and talk with the contestants. It's basically, that's when the zombie madness starts happening. It's a virus or something, nobody knows what's going off, and it's starting to happen. And during this time, in the crowd, is when a victim who's already bitten basically starts attacking other people and people in the crowd. And at this same time, the contestant that's being interviewed basically has to take cover and meets up with a sleazy executive of the show, who's like the bad guy of this, basically. And Davina McCall herself ends up being bitten and turned into a zombie. There's also other former Big Brother contestants on this who also turn into zombies and getting their 15 minutes of fame again. And all hell breaks loose. Now, during this time, the contestants that are left in the Big Brother house from the game show are basically unaware of what's going off, and they're trapped and locked inside the house while all this chaos is going off outside. Now, at the same time, a young woman who's working on the show backstage, she ends up entering the house, and as she's separated from her boyfriend, who in the subplot is trying to find her throughout this thing, she ends up entering the house and actually convincing everybody that a zombie apocalypse is going off. And as soon as the deaths start piling up, that's when you start to believe what's going off. They also end up meeting up with the sleazy TV executive, who at this time has been trying to survive by killing others, by pushing them in the way of zombies, and trying to find other survivors. And it all comes to a head during the conclusion of this TV miniseries from E4. This was on one Halloween 2008. It was shown in parts, and nothing like this has really been done since, and it is quite entertaining. The only gripe with this is that the zombies are fast in this, and the only problem I find with that is it's very shaky cam, and some of the scenes are a bit too dark in this, and that's my only gripe with this. Other than that, it is quite an entertaining, quite original zombie TV miniseries slash feature. It was done by Charlie Brooke, who's a writer for Channel 4, and he's got his own touches of satire in there, comedy moments, some gore, and I suppose if you're a fan of Big Brother, you might like this. Even if you're an anti-fan of Big Brother, you might still like this for the sake of how things pan out in this. And it is quite clever, because the actual actors that do play the Big Brother contestants are actually like this in real life, really over the top, OTT, and you get them down to a T quite good actually, so praise to the actors for that. This also stars Adam Deacon from the Kiddlewood films, whatever they're called. He's in this. You've got cameos from Davina McCall and other Big Brother contestants. I don't know many of the actors in this, but the main actress in this, who's looking for a boyfriend, is from Kiddlewood again, and her name is Jamie Winstone. Charlie Buck, as I said, writes this, and he's also a Guardian columnist, and show the back there. I don't know if you can see that, but the extra features on this are interviews with Charlie Brooker, behind the scenes featurettes, special effects featurettes, on the set with dead set, deleting and extended scenes, so there's quite a bit on there, and it's not a bad price to pick up actually, and like I said, nothing like this has been done since or anything like that. But it is worth picking up, especially to anybody across the pond who might be a bit bored of the normal zombie films and want a quick look at something different. I like this on the inside. I like the fact that the pinhole of the eye, the pupil, is where the DVD is. I thought that was quite smart. Just a little thing there. Yeah, I think it's been repeated a few times on E4 and over the years, and it is quite an unusual yet entertaining zombie flick. It is 2.5 hours, so it is gonna keep you occupied for that time. A lot's changed with the series Big Brother, as it's all moved on since then with the presenters and stuff, but it's still quite relevant. They do use people like Davina McCall, and zombie popularity is taking off. These crossovers are quite inevitable, and it works quite well in this. There's plenty, like I was saying before, there's plenty of gore, there's plenty of blood, there's a few twists and turns there, and it does end on a bit of a bleak note, but I won't go into too much detail about that. There's a bit to keep you going in this. Like I said, at 2.5 hours, play it all at once. You'll be quite taken back by it. But anyway, that's Dead Set. I hope you do check it out, especially those across the pond who haven't seen this or are looking for a different zombie kind of feature to get the teeth into, and give it a try. This is Dead Set from E4 by Charlie Brooker. Take care. Have a bloody good day, and I'll have some more reviews soon. Hope you've enjoyed this. Goodbye. Look at the flowers, Lizzie. Look at the flowers. Walking Dead.